In this passage today, Jesus asks a very important question to Peter. First, he asks, who do people think is the Son of Man? Who do people say the Messiah is? And then he asks the second question, the more important question. Who do you say I am? This is an interesting conundrum because at this point, Jesus knows his own identity. And yet he's asking the disciples, who do they think he is? What is his identity? If we think about this in modern terms, this is like opening up Pandora's box when you ask somebody, who do you think I am? Right? Our identity and who we are as a person is wrapped up into a lot of things. There's the identity that we see ourselves as, the identity we attempt to portray in the world, and the identity or reality of who we are. And on top of all of that, there is the identity that others see us as. That last one we have a really hard time controlling, right? How do other people perceive us in this world? Often this later one is what gives us great anxiety or struggles when somebody sees something as not the way we wished them to see it. And yet, this is ultimately who controls our identity, a big part of our life, right? Do we have control of who we are, or is it how others perceive us? If we want to change who we are we allowed to do so? Often in families, it's really hard to change who you are because there's so much riding on and pigeonholing you into your identity. In fact, actually, there's a whole new line of theological and psychological work on moral injury, which discusses this idea of when we are asked to do something or we are a part of something that goes against our morals or deep down who we are, and how that moral trauma or injury then plays out in our life. A lot of people think that adolescence is the time in which we come to figure out who we are, right? But I'm going to tell you that at least for me, after every single major and sometimes perceived minor event in my life, I have had to reevaluate myself and say to myself, who am I? What kind of person am I in this world? Or now with this new information, I am sure that COVID and all that time that we had in our homes, or all that time we had being the only people working in the world, affected how we see ourselves and our identity. Who are we in this world? One part of my identity is that I am a Christian. One part of I assume the identities of you watching is that you are a Christian. But how does somebody know that we are a Christian? I was reminded several weeks ago by my husband Russ of a comment I had a long time ago when I had just come out of seminary by somebody who said to me, well, I looked almost like a Christian. And I thought to myself, well, maybe I'm doing something right. How do people know that we are a Christian? We used to suggest that they knew this based on the fact that we were morally better people. You know, that the Christian was the nice person, or the Christian was the person doing the volunteer work. But that, my friends, has changed. There are a lot of of pretty nice people out there. And there's a lot of good people doing volunteer work who are not Christian. And so how does somebody know who we are when they meet us? More importantly, how does somebody come to know who Jesus is? Through a relationship with us. That's an important question. Why does it matter that we are Christian? Earlier this week, somebody asked me that same sort of question, right? How does being a Christian, how do Christian values, how does following the Bible affect our day-to-day life? On Tuesday, I was in a meeting with a group of people, and at the end of the meeting, via Zoom nowadays, but at the end of the meeting, we kind of went off into just our own lives and sharing about things. And one person shared about some upcoming wedding and the amount of money and excess that was going into that wedding. And nobody on this call could quite understand or wrap our heads around some of the extravagance of a wedding, especially in the midst of COVID. And it dawned on me, and I said, I think this comes out of the fact that we're all Christians. And our Christian identity here is telling us that this isn't the moment for extravagance. It was interesting that had hit me because the very day before, I was talking with my husband about buying a new bicycle. And I really don't necessarily need this new bicycle. I want this new bicycle. And we were weighing the desire to buy the bicycle with the happenings of the moment, and it just doesn't feel right to buy a new bicycle. Yes, we have extra money, and I could buy that bicycle right now, but I also could do good with that money. And so we chose to donate a portion of that money to a food pantry for those who are in need right now. That decision came out of my Christian values, who I am, my identity, but not just who I am, but who I see Jesus as. Peter answers Jesus here that he is the Messiah, that Peter has figured it all out, right? We know Peter hasn't figured it all out, but he responds here that he has. And in this response of, I have figured it all out, Lord, Jesus blesses. He blesses our friend Peter here and tells him that Peter is the rock that he is going to build the church on. Peter isn't perfect, but he chooses Peter because here, Peter can answer the question, who am I? Says Jesus. And Peter says, you are the Son of God. Who is Jesus to our life? Why are we Christians? And what and how does that impact our decision making? It should. I was always taught from a very young age to be a giver. My mom is a giver. When she hears that somebody is in need, she finds a way to give. Never did she have a successful yard sale. Never once. Because she always gave away more than she sold. She felt for people. She understood. She knew their struggles and she wanted to give. So she has always been a very generous person. And her philosophy really is this one that if you will receive. And so in her giving, she shows her identity as a Christian and how she sees Jesus, right? Jesus is very generous. And so that is, who am I? Says Jesus. My mother's answer is gracious and generous. And that is what she is in this world. I remember one story where my friend was in town visiting us, and we were going to go to a water park. And we got to the water park, and there was a Christian group there going into the water park together. And they had 2 extra tickets to the water park that day, and they had 2 people that didn't show up. And so as we were walking up, they said, "Hey, do you guys want these?" And so for $20 less per ticket, $40 total savings, we went in for $40 less than we would have. And we had a great day. But as I was hearing this invitation from this Christian group to go in with them, and as I was realizing the $40 that we would save that day by going in, a profound sense of awe of God struck over me. For the very day before, while we were touring Atlanta with my friend, a person came up and said that they needed to borrow $20 for gas. And my mom gave them $20. And they said to her, "If you give us your address, we'll repay you double." My mom said, "No, that's okay." The next day, we were repaid double for what we had given the day before. That doesn't happen every time we give, and yet at the same time, by being generous in this world, generosity has come our way multiple times. How is our Christian identity wrapped up in the identity of who Jesus is to us? And our relationship with Jesus? How do we answer this question? Our identity as Christians should very much inform the way we live our lives, inform our decision makings and how we go out into this world and be. And not just how we go out in this world and be nice to people, or we go out in this world and do community service, but how we make the decisions every day that we make. Be it decisions to spend money or give money away. Be it the decisions to talk to somebody and really listen, or the decision to walk away. Be it the decision of how we interact in this world as a person. Be it the decision of how we care for our earth. All of our decisions that we make each and every day as a Christian should show the world our identity. Through us, people should come to know who God is, who Jesus is, who the Messiah is. But we all have to answer that ourselves. Who is Jesus to us? What is it with my relationship with God that when Jesus asks me, "Who do you say I am?" you can come back to him and say, "Lord, you are a Messiah, and that means this."